5 years ago, I was a member at a smaller gym. It was a good place to work out. We'd sometimes get a little crowded because we didn't have a whole lot of space, but usually it wasn't that busy at all. I went there almost every day and was a regular, but I didn't really like to interact with people as I worked out, so I always just put my headphones in and blasted music. I kind of zoned out from everyone and just really focused on my workouts. One day, everything was completely normal. The gym was a little less busy than usual, so I was happy about that. I was doing bench press on one of the benches they had sort of in the corner. I began doing a set and was very focused on what I was doing. In the middle of me lifting weights, I heard something sort of going on. It sounded like some loud noises, which was strange because my music volume was almost all the way up in my headphones. I didn't know what it was, but I was focused on getting my set done, so I kept going. But when I was done with my bench press, I sat back up and took out my headphones, wondering what I had heard. I looked around and noticed that the gym was completely empty. I got up in surprise and wondered where everyone had went. Sure, there was only 3 or 4 other people there, but they had all disappeared. I had only been bench pressing for maybe about a minute total. Once I looked around, I noticed there was just one man in the gym. He was standing at the front near the entrance. I heard him shout a curse word, and at that moment I got a bad feeling. He seemed to notice me and then yelled, "What's up?" to me in an angry tone. He then told me to come over to him. He asked me why I hadn't left like everyone else. I looked at him confused. Then he said it was now too late for me to leave. Then he started to run towards me. I turned and ran for the locker room. I got inside as quick as I could and ran around the corner to where the bathrooms were. The man came inside and walked towards the lockers first. I don't know how I made the decision. I guess it was just adrenaline, but I saw the small chance where his back was turned to me, and I ran out from behind him to the gym area. I didn't turn to look and ran all the way outside. I ran straight for my car and noticed a few other gym members standing by their cars. They asked me if I was all right. I told them yes and asked what had happened. One of the men explained to me that a man had walked inside and shouted for everyone to get out of the gym and that he had a gun. Everyone scrambled to leave quickly, but I guess I hadn't noticed. The police were already on their way, and we watched them arrive and take the man away several minutes later. He turned out to not have a weapon at all and was just basically insane, but I still don't know what he would have done if he would have caught up with me. This happened about 3 years ago. I used to be a member of the YMCA gym. It was about 10 minutes away from the apartment that I lived at the time with my roommate. I used to go to the YMCA every single day on my way home from work. Usually I would just lift weights, but sometimes I would do some other exercises as well. One night I arrived at the gym and then went into the locker room to change. Then I went to work out. I worked out for I would say about an hour and then went back to my locker. When I used the locker room, I never used a lock. I know it's careless of me, but I never used one my whole life and never had any problems. I would just put my things in the locker in the corner and shut it. It was just my work clothes and keys that I would keep in there, and my wallet and phone I kept with me as I worked out. As I came back to my locker after the workout on this day, I opened up my locker to see that none of my things were inside. I started to panic and looked in the surrounding lockers to make sure that I had the right one. Sure enough, I did have the correct one, and I had a sinking feeling come over me. I should have known that sooner or later, if I didn't use the lock, my stuff would get stolen. Then I realized that because my keys had been in there was a chance that my car had been stolen from the parking lot. All someone with my keys would have to do is walk out into the parking lot and push my lock to see which car is mine. I walked out the locker room to the entrance of the gym and looked out the window. Thankfully, my car was still there. I walked out to it on the slim chance that I left the door unlocked, but when I tried it, it was locked. I did have a spare key back at my place and also still had my phone on me, so I took it out and called my roommate. He picked up and I told him the situation. I asked him to bring me my spare key, which he agreed to. Then I went back inside the lobby of the YMCA and asked the person at the front desk if anyone had brought my things, thinking there was a small chance maybe they had them behind the counter. They didn't, so I sat inside and waited about 15 minutes until my roommate arrived. When he got there, he called me and said he was parked next to me in the parking lot, so I walked outside over to his car and received the keys. I then went to my car and got inside. I started it up, and as soon as I started to drive away, I didn't get any farther than a few feet when I noticed something. There was a man hunched over in the back seat behind me. As soon as I looked at him, I noticed his head move, and he looked up. We made eye contact for a split second. All I remember is that the man was wearing a sweatshirt and had a hood over most of his head. He started to get up, and all I could think to do was get out of my car and run to my roommate's car. Thankfully, my roommate hadn't left yet and was sitting in the front seat on his phone. I stopped my car, got outside, and ran around to the passenger side of my roommate's car, leaving my keys in my car and the car running. My roommate looked very confused as he saw me running towards his car. I got inside and just told him to drive away. Then he noticed the man exit the back seat of my car and start going towards his. He locked his doors and pulled away out of the parking lot. As he drove away, I called the police. As soon as we were out on the road, I told my roommate everything. We drove around for a bit and then went back to the YMCA as the police would arrive. When the police got there, my car was gone. Now both my sets of keys were gone, but I told the police everything that I could. The thing that surprised me the most is that the guy who got the car was just hiding in the back seat, as if he knew I would return to my car. Or maybe I just happened to walk in shortly after he decided to check out what was inside, and he decided to hide. Either way, it was one of the scariest moments of my life. Several days later, my car was found abandoned with the keys in it about 10 miles away. Thankfully, there was no damage, and I was happy to get it back, but I don't know if the man was ever found. I used to work at a gym. What my job was to mainly work the front desk, but I did a little bit of everything. We were a pretty small gym, and we were open 24/7, so I would check people in, sign people up for memberships, and take care of some maintenance, really whatever needed to be done, because typically late at night I would be the only one working. There were generally no more than about 10 people working out at a time, and in the really late night hours, the gym would often be completely empty. One night, when I was about 3 months into the job, it was completely emptied around midnight. I was just sitting at the desk playing a game on my phone, and I was the only person working. Nobody had even been inside the gym in about 20 minutes, and it was completely quiet inside other than the hip-hop music we had playing quietly over the speakers. Then suddenly out of nowhere, I heard the noise of weights being dropped from behind me somewhere in the weight area of the gym. At first I thought nothing of it as I was used to hearing these noises, and I kept playing the game on my phone. Until a couple of seconds passed by and I remembered how the gym was completely empty. So why would I be hearing the sound of weights? I turned around and looked behind me to the weight room. At first I didn't see anyone until my eyes scanned around. Then I noticed that there was a man sitting at one of the chest press machines. It was very strange because the man was wearing a business suit with a tie. He had his hair slicked back and was staring right back at me. As he did, a creepy smile came over his face. I was startled as I saw this, and I couldn't help but look away immediately. For some reason, it just really creeped me out, and I had no idea how this guy had gotten in. I thought for a second if I should ask the man to leave or ask him if he had swiped in, because I knew I hadn't seen anybody in a suit come inside. Then I heard the extremely loud noise of a bunch of weights falling over. I looked behind me once again and saw that the towers that held a bunch of different plates of weights had been knocked over and the plates had fallen everywhere. I looked around for the man, but now I couldn't see him. I got up and decided to investigate. I walked around the gym, all around the weight room, but couldn't find the man, so I picked up the weights. I knew I had to find him, but the only place I hadn't looked were the locker rooms. The gym was not really big at all. It was pretty much just one big room. I looked all around one more time and confirmed that the man wasn't anywhere inside the weight room. At that point, I slowly walked into the men's locker room and looked around. I couldn't find him anywhere inside. Then I looked over the corner where the bathroom stalls were. I saw the man sticking his head over one of the bathroom stall doors from the inside. He had a deranged smile on his face and was waving at me. Then he started laughing and waving me over to him. I ran out of the room and back to my desk. I sat there just hoping the man would leave. I was completely creeped out by his behavior, but the most concerning thing was I had no idea how he got inside the gym. The only door to the gym was at the front, right in front of my desk. I sat there for a while on edge in case the man would come back out. I waited for a good 20 minutes, but didn't hear anything. Finally, another gym member entered the gym. This was a man who I had actually recognized as a regular member of the gym, and he made me feel a lot less scared after he entered and said hi to me. I knew I was no longer alone now, and once the man swiped in and started to exercise, I went back into the locker room to see if the crazy guy was still in there. Once I got back inside, I couldn't find the man anywhere. All the bathroom stalls were empty, and so was the rest of the locker room. I looked all over, but he seemed to just be gone. I left back for my desk and returned to work. For the final 3 hours of my shift, I never saw that man again. And beyond that, I didn't see him at all any other day either. I have no clue how he got in or how he left without me seeing. Sometimes I think I was just imagining things from lack of sleep.